Right, what have we got today? Boosh. It's a right boosh today because it's something new from Knipex. Okay, so I was out and about and I saw a deal and I thought I have to get that deal. It's such a good price. I don't really need them, but I thought I'd get them anyway just in case, and I'm going to place some crappy ones that I've got at work anyway and move those to another location. So these will become my new compact bolt croppers, or bolt cutters as most people call them. So these are a compact design. Now before anyone says these are rubbish, there's much bigger ones. I know, I realise that, but the massive ones weigh a ton and you've got to open them 6 foot to get through a bolt. These are for small, light jobs. That's all these are for. So what I'm actually looking at here is this is the Knipex made in Germany. It is the Cobolt 7102-200. Generally, or my belief is anyway, 71 is the model number, then the second number generally refers to the handle type. I think there's only 2 handle types. There's the component comfort grip or the standard plasti dip. And then 200 refers to, in millimeters, the length of the handle. So I think there is a 160mm version, but I'll go for the 200 in most stuff. Well, generally 180 or 200, depending on the application. Because I've got big hands, I'm 6'4", so it doesn't really bother me. But if you've got smaller hands, you might think, well, I'll go for the 160s, but just bear in mind you're going to get less leverage with that. And for things like this, you need quite a bit. So I've used it a little bit, and I put it back in the box. I've only used it for a couple of days, so there's hardly any. In fact, I'll show you the marks just to prove I have used it. Let's have a good look. So if I open that, you'll see on there, see how there is some marks. So the surface treatment is coming off there. So that's like an trematized finish they put on there, which is great. It means you're not having to sit oiling the things every 5 minutes. But obviously, as that comes off, that is going to become something that you're going to need to do. But in regards to this, as long as you're not banging it around against other tools, it should be fine. So let's get a nice close look at this. So they are referring to this as chrome vanadium Cobolt compact bolt cutters. So yes, I realise that they're called bolt cutters. We don't just have to use them for bolts. You can use them for fasteners and screws and wires and all sorts of things like that. And on here, I think they've got, so if you do happen to want to cut piano wire, it has the maximum spec on here, so 3.6mm. I do believe it's higher for bolts, nails and rivets, as long as it's what they refer to as soft material. In other words, the cheaper stuff. So in that regard, they are saying you can go plus 5mm. I think it's 5.2mm is a maximum. Give you a nice close look there whilst I'm waffling on here. So they are claiming the blade section anyway has been induction hardened. That just means to stick in the big mag and it basically and heat it up. So they are claiming a 64 hardness rating. So that's the HRC value. So the Rockwell hardness rating there. So you can see some of the coatings come off there, but the little work I have done, it certainly hasn't affected the geometry of that. That's still straight as a die there, as you can see on both sides. If you're wondering what these little lines are here, you're probably thinking, what on earth has he been doing? What has he been trying to cut? Those are actually put in by Knipex. Now they're only on one side, so let's have a close look. You won't see them on that side. You'll see some of the surfaces come off because I have actually genuinely cut stuff and done a bit of work with this. Same on that side. But on this side, look, they are calling those microstructures. If I can get a good view, there you go, that's a bit better. I like little lines. Now, they're almost like, now if I have some, there's some I'm knocking about. Here's some scissors. So if you look at these scissors, in order to grip onto stuff, there is a serration there. It stops whatever's in here being pushed that direction. It allows the cut to continue. So, and that's different in the knife world. Serrated blades are generally for different purposes, especially the deep ones. But anyway, but in this regard, it stops that happening. So you stick something in here to cut. It means that it's not just getting, as soon as you actuate this, it's not just getting pushed away and no cut takes place. So does that make a difference? Kind of, but I mean, there's other ways around that. You just hold it with another hand and things like that. But okay, I like the fact that they put that in. They're very, very shallow. They really are shallow. I can barely feel that with my thumb there. They are there, but for goodness sake, there's not a lot going on there. But okay, they are there. I just wanted to mention that. Now, this is a lever action mechanism, so you'll notice it's kind of like a lever cam. So the lever starts here and then ends over here. So rather than having the pivot point here, it's a multi-system. So watch, see how that works. So that's the, well, part of the lever, and then you have a secondary lever there. So you see, if I get that up close there, that's a better view. See how that works? So again, they are claiming, anyway, this is their claim, in regards to this, you are using 60% less power. Now, generally, you'll find with what are referred to as lever action, high, well, I suppose they'd call them high leverage cutters and things like that. In order to get more leverage, you'll generally find that you've got to open the damn things dead wide to get that, and then this hardly moves. So that's what they're doing. They're giving you more power, but it's a bit of a pain sometimes. But I will say, look, now yes, I am a big guy. Bear in mind these are the 200 mils. Look, they're the 200 mils. I can still do that. Look, that's as much as it'll open, and I can still reach that and do it, and then open with the other hand. Other fingers, boom. So it's not too bad. It's not what, like some of these super high leverage ones where you go, 10 foot wide and it's moved, a tenth of an inch. These are pretty good. That is a usable space that I can use, especially for the capacities that this is supposed to be cutting anyway. So I think they've done a pretty good job there. So like I say, they come in the 160 or 200. I went for the 200. So they're saying sub 400 grams. I think it's 365 grams on this, so they don't weigh a lot, but they are pretty hefty, so they're well made and pretty hefty. So in regards pros and cons, and before I show you that, in fact, let's show you some cuts. Have I got any things knocking about this? Some little fissures. Right, let's have a look at these, just so I can show you them working. So let's cut through some little fasteners here. These just happen to be, just to show you I'm not using a load of crap here. These are genuine Fisher, German, so that's like a company that's been around for about 75 years. These just happen to be, I think these are Posi here, you can see them. These are Posi, and they just happen to be little screws here. So let's see how it deals with that. There you go, so you see that? So I've got my hand on there. I'm not even going right at the end, so let's just see. Yeah, straight through, no problem at all. Let's just have a quick look at the cut surface there. Yeah, perfect. Nice, neat cut there, you see it there? And then flicks the end off, so you can find that 10 years later. And then I've got some bigger ones here. I think the difference in colour is these aren't Fisher, but they are high quality ones that I bought. Both of these I got with my own money. I think this is some sort of coating for keeping the rain off and things like that. But again, another Posi. So just to show you, I'm going through a bigger one here, and rather than doing it near the end, we'll do it near the top where it's fatter. Okay. So just to show you, in fact, I'll do it like that. So we'll get a nice view as it cuts. Okay. So it's going in, going in, going in. Try to keep that in camera. There you go. Still going. Can it get through? Try to keep this in camera without it flicking off wildly. Yes, straight through there. So let's find the top. So we'll look at both sections there. So there you go. So there's the section that's cleaved through there, and then the top section. Get a nice close look in. Hairs all over there. Nice close look in 4K. In fact, if I can get that off there so you can get a close look. Right, there you go. Focus your scum there. Perfect. So again, it's gone straight through that, and they are claiming 5.2 mil on soft stuff. So if something is purposefully hardened, you're going to have more difficulty. And again, when you do that, you're going to notice that the surface changes. You see here, look, see how this coating comes off, but that's to be expected. This is where the action happens. This is the cutting edge, so you can see a little bit more of that has come off. But in regards to geometry, it's not rounding or anything like that, which is what would happen on cheaper ones like that there. Or if you thought, oh, I haven't got any bolt croppers, what I'll do is I'll just get my diagonals. Don't do that, because they end up knackered. But as you can see, straight through, no problem. Anyway, so pros and cons. I think these are compact. Yes, you can get the 160s. They are saying you can stick this in your trouser pocket. I don't know about that. If I put these in my trouser pocket, I'd end up with a bit of a droop. But okay, if you don't fear having droops at work, there you go. Maybe you can do that. Or you've got big trousers. But come on, these are quite hefty and heavy. But they're below that 400 gram mark where it doesn't become ridiculous, like a paperweight. They are made in Germany, and to prove that, I mean, it's a bit obscured here, but it's got made, and then I presume it does say in, and then Germany there, and it will say on the handle here. So if we have a look there, you've got Knipex. And then on the inside, generally on Knipex, you've got there, made in Germany. So these are genuinely made in Germany, and it says that on the box as well. So a guarantee of higher quality there, I would argue. They are high leverage due to this lever action here at the end. So that's a bonus for me. And they're pretty good for a 365 gram bull cropper. I think they've done a decent job. Yeah, the only downside you could argue is price, but I don't care because I got these on a mega sale, so I don't really care. I got them at a really decent price, and I like the component handles. You can get the standard plastic tip, which is probably slightly easier to clean. This does have a slight texture to it, but as you can see, as I press in there, it's nice and soft. It's not as soft as a PB Swiss, but it's certainly nice, and fit and finish is excellent there. beautiful. The finish is nice, and then they've sort of sanded it off there on the logo there for Knipex. I'll give you one last very quick look at the handle. It's got little perforations there. Then you can see that, and then that. There is no lanyard attachment here, but I mean, I can't imagine using these for that sort of thing. There's one thing I didn't mention. It does have a gripping surface. So you probably think, what's this? Is this for a crimp? What is that? So if I get a close look there, can you see that? That is, they're calling that gripping surface. I guess what they're referring to is, let's say you're cutting and you think, oh, I don't have my pliers, but I need to pull something. You can grip it in there and yank it. If you're working on a fence or whatever you're doing, you have that there. That's not a crimper, though. You can see it's got some indentations there, and it crimps together. But it isn't what I would refer to as a standard crimper. You could use it for something along those lines, but as you can see, when that comes together, there is a little gap there. So that's just a little added feature. They are calling those gripping surfaces between the handles. So there you go. So far, I like them. I've just showed you it works perfectly for what I'm going to be using it for. If I was cutting anything thicker than this, I would go and get out the big boys anyway, so it doesn't really bother me. Or if it's a real pain in the backside, you go out and get your portable bandsaw, or you get a multi-tool and saw it with something else. Or I've found myself a lot recently when I want to cut through stuff like that, I just use a cut-off tool with a Dremel, tiny little disc, bzz, straight through, job done. So are these going to become a thing of the past? Probably not, because you can just grab it and chop. It's a lot quicker. You don't have to worry about batteries and things like that, but there you go. Okay, so thanks for joining me. I will give these a 9 so far. Very, very impressed with them. I would give them more, but the price on the Knipex stuff is getting ridiculous. I realise it's high quality, but for goodness sake. Anyway, right, thanks for joining me, and goodbye.